This is a good one because we're clearing up more confusion. Confusion that causes at least as much, if not more pain than the already perhaps existing mental, emotional, physical pain that you have just by karmic default. And so this topic is around those who were conditioned to believe that somehow when you start to become more awake, there should be less pain. Because we read it in books and see it in videos and scriptures and speculation and hearsay and third-party talk, and it's like we get this concept, and so then we keep measuring ourselves up against this concept and cause ourselves more pain. Do you realize that if somebody's peaceful or if they're feeling good, it can have nothing to do at all with spirituality? Nothing. It can just simply be because they're blessed with some good genetics and physical health and a regulated nervous system, etc. They can be doing like diabolical things in their life and still feel good, feel happy. Now, next life, are they going to feel that way? You see, that's another subject. But for this life, if they have good genetics and good hereditary and everything's balanced inside, just because like that's what they inherited, that kind of car, they can feel peaceful. And then if they're talk on spiritual subjects, it can look like, and they sometimes might even attribute to that, they're like, wow, I became more spiritual now, like all my pain's gone. It's just not true. All right. Now, some of you know that, you can intuitively feel that, you just know it. It's just not true. The truth is, when you start to become more awake, actually, truly more awake, truly, not like I believe in concepts and I do some yoga and meditation, that means I'm more awake. No, it means when your neurosis inside is unraveling and you can't get away with things escaping through habits and addictions like you used to, you're going to feel more pain because you're not going to have the buffer there anymore, which is what the addictions and habits and just numbness that we get from doing these things. You're not going to have that in place anymore. So you're going to start to feel actually what's inside of you. Most people don't know or feel what's inside of them. They're so busy out here with their ambitions and goals and addictions and getting dopamine stimulation, especially in the West, especially now in modern society. They got no idea how they feel inside. If they were to be forced to just kind of sit with themselves for a while, they couldn't handle it. They just couldn't handle it. It's like, give me a joint or something, like I need something. Couldn't do it. So the authentic, you could say, awakening process is when you start to become more comfortable with yourself and just existence, period. At first, you start to have a relationship with existence, and then later, just by natural reason, you start to realize, wait a minute, but actually, what's the separation between me and existence? How can there be like me here and then existence out there? Aren't I like encompassed by existence? So you start to feel yourself as existence. That's not a one and you're done like realization. That continues. That continues to grow and continues to be perfected. As long as you're in some kind of form, there's always technically more work to do. It's just usually it gets more subtle and subtle. So this is what we're going to try to clear up today. So I already talked about how these distractions that we have, it would numb us. When we identify with the human persona and all of its desires and goals, it's like we're focused on that. You don't have time to actually get acquainted with what's going on with yourself. But as you start to awake, it's like that delusion of a mask we're wearing, it starts to thin out. Meaning the identity starts to thin out. You can no longer be in such deep hypnosis anymore in terms of thinking you're just this little human thing, and now you have these human goals, and this is what your whole life's about, and you got to get a relationship and then get a house and have kids and then go on vacation and all that stuff. That identity somehow, that role starts to dismantle. So then what you're left with is just yourself. Because these things, they don't give you a hit anymore. Before, you used to think, we would come up with something we'd be bored and then think, okay, what could I do to get, what could I do that would make me feel good or something? You can get a hit just from your imagination. I used to get a hit when I used to think about like oh, I'll get I want to get like a sport bike, a new sport bike, or a new race car, or I want to go to this country or that country, or whoa, what if I meet this kind of girl who has these kind of traits and we really connect like that? Whoa. And then what if we both do plant medicine, then we get even more close and intimate? I experienced that, by the way. It was nice, it was good. But as with everything, you grow out of it, because there's always another side to that. It's not just up, 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 up. But it's definitely worth the experience to have your experiences. So once you've had sufficient experiences within this realm of relative illusion, it doesn't work anymore. The bite is gone. It's like I was with my friend, and I would sit and think like, what's there to do, man? Like, what do you want to do? Okay, let's think. Maybe we can go do this, or go here, or go there, or trying to find something like what gives me a hit. And at some point, nothing does anymore. That's auspicious. That's an auspicious stage. So if you hit that stage, anything that you've covered up in the past or didn't look at, or that you were numb to, that's going to start to surface. You're going to start to feel that. That's going to be uncomfortable. That's why it's a fact that as you start to awaken, if it's authentic, it's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to have to feel that stuff. People can hide also in the spiritual realm, and hide being a spiritual teacher and chasing views and building an ashram and building, and getting praise from their disciples. That can, man, that can go on longer and serve as a numbing agent even better than these other more surface things. Because you're caught up in what's going on out here. You're getting juice from outside. But some people's destiny is that juice dries up, because you're destined for true realization. And so then you have to sit with yourself. Because what are you going to do? You can't, it's not a practice. I should sit with myself because the teacher told me to sit with myself. No, where else are you going to sit? You don't want to go sit in some noisy area anymore that used to give a stimulation. It's just exhausting now. You don't want to do that. That doesn't give you energy anymore. The things that used to give you energy, at some point, is going to take your energy. So now you're just sitting here, okay. Then you got to go through that, and that takes as long as it takes. I'm trying to go in order, but see, it messes my flow up. So I don't know. I don't know what to do sometimes, because then if I flow, then I'll miss stuff. You just gotta. That's part of the flow, I guess. Oh yeah, we gotta talk about the different levels of peace. See, there's two pieces. Self-realization doesn't equal this human, physical, tangible peace where you feel this warm, palpable, life force moving inside. It just feels really good. You're just super peaceful, and you feel this deep love, and your compassion is the capacity is infinite. You just love everything. You stepped on an ant and you breathe life force back into it to wake it back up because you feel bad. It's not like that. It can manifest like that if one is healthy in a physical sense because of karmic reasons. Their systems are balanced, it's regulated, chemistry's flowing unobstructedly, then you can experience that. Now I know some will say, yeah, but you can do yoga and pranayama and there's all these techniques that can get the energies flowing. Yeah, I know. Some people though, they're not gonna have a regulated system their whole life. They're just not. You can do things to manage the symptoms and get by, and yeah, that's cool. Doesn't matter. It's not the point. Go try all that first. Go try all that, and then we can talk. But that's not the point of my point. My point, there's two pieces. There's this physical human piece that I just described. Then there's a deeper piece that's not so physical. It's not so tangible. It's the kind of peace that you feel when you're done fighting. You can't You don't, whatever's happening, you're like, okay, it's okay. There's not this rebellion inside, like, I don't want this to happen, damn it. This shouldn't happen. I want to feel different. That, if somebody truly has a high degree of self-realization, that dissolves. That's causal identity, the one that's here, that wants its life to look and be and feel in a certain way. That's true realization. Because this physical piece, that changes. That's contingent upon a lot of factors. Let's take the person who's super regulated and balanced, okay, put them in a war zone, bombs are going off. You think they're gonna feel that physical, tangible peace? You think Buddha felt the physical, tangible peace when he's suffering from the symptoms of this bad bacteria infection he had, or Nasasargata? I mean, I'm gonna talk about him in a minute. Ramana, when he had cancer at the end, you think the peace was just so, no. But he wasn't resisting it either. You think Jesus was feeling peace when they're torturing him? I just love you all so much. Like, you want me to help you? You didn't, you missed the point here. You should put the nail a little higher. No, man, like if you're in a human body, there's certain external events and situations that can totally disrupt your physical peace. And look at Yogananda. It said he's been enlightened lifetimes ago. That doesn't dismiss you from having to take on some degree of collective karma when you incarnate here. The rules of the game. If you're gonna be a human, okay, you gotta take some karma, even if it's not personal. Because you read his autobiography of a yogi. Sometimes people ask me, like, which books should you get? You can get mine, and then you can get, I have books, and then you can get autobiography of a yogi. And he talks, first thing, his mom died. He had super deep karmic relationship with his mother. He wanted to kill himself after that. It was so devastating. It just, he didn't want to live anymore. Yeah, but he's an avatar. He was enlightened. Yeah, and he has a human body too, with an emotional body. And there was another point in his life, he almost died. I forgot the name of the illness he had. And then he comes to America with his Indian friend. Indian friend starts trying to play with the Americans' wives. And then there was a big scandal about that. All the papers were printing it. These damn Indians, they're coming over to, try to make tantra with their wives. And so Yogananda wasn't involved in that, but because it was his friend, his name got tarnished too. And so then there's all this gossip and slander about him and why he's really here. And that broke him down, because in his heart, he knew why he was here. He was here to deliver the message of Kriya Yoga, something that the Westerners they didn't know about, and something that could help uplift the planet. He was super influential figure. And it really messed him up, and he had to it took some time to process that and then to get back on board. So we all have our challenges and struggles. Having realization doesn't equal a nice, peaceful life and you just balanced all the time. It's impossible. Knowing that helps. That helps because your acceptance level in this silly self-judgment that we have, that goes away. Again, your causal identity is dissolving, because the one that's saying it shouldn't be like this, and if I was higher, then this would happen and this would be like this, that is part of the identity that needs to dissolve. All these concepts and things we learn, they're just concepts. They're not true. They're concepts. Concepts change and morph, and it just depends on the time and age. And one concept can be true in this moment, but then in another moment, it's not true. Oh, yeah. So, remember I said I was going to talk about Nasasargata? I know that's probably not how you say his name, but those know who I'm talking about. This is why I liked him. I remember when I first saw his video, he was smoking those little Indian beedies cigarettes. They cost like 1 cent back when I was there. And he'd be coughing, man, and and talking at the same time, dropping science. You know, look, and there's only the self. But I could see, man, that like, well, this guy has it. Who cares about the cough? And he's smoking cigarettes. And I remember there was a girl that said to him, "Sir, you're like high level. How can you be attached to smoking?" He said, "Well, you seem attached to not smoking." He flipped it on her. I like when people flip things on the people who are conditioned with their concepts. You know? And then what about UG Krishnamurti? This guy, man, he had a super deregulated nervous system. Those who were close to him, he would go into rage sometimes. He'd be in the hospital or be somewhere, and just his limbic system would just be off the charts. He'd just be going crazy. The neurosis would just be, you know, acting up. But yet, when he spoke, when you see some of his videos, how are you going to argue with that realization? A man speaking the truth. And Vivekananda, that's another example. He was devastated because his own people basically were just jealous. The mainstream and collective are always going to be against a true, authentic individual. It's set up like that. That's your training. Don't let it get to you. The bigger you get, the more of a problem that can be. You get too big, you might get taken out. No problem. Anytime, God. It's called graduation. So he would write these letters. He had a friend he would confide in. And he would write, "Oh, man, this is just too heavy. This is too heavy. The people are thinking this and that, and like that's not even like I don't know, you know, just emotionally ratted out." He was a super high level saint. So I like to give examples sometimes, so then, I don't know, maybe it gives more credibility than just believing what the guy in the woods with the white t-shirt says, you know. Well, we usually hit 20 minutes, so let's see what else we can do. In synopsis, if your system is strained because of karmic reasons, you're probably not going to feel the same degree of physical peace as somebody whose system isn't strained. That's just simple law of biology. I did a high-level session with an older woman last year, maybe. I've shared this before, but it fits here. She said, "You know what? Honestly, I don't think that I'm going to experience this bliss, love, light, peace, ecstasy that you know, some people like to make a big deal about and be theatrical about." She says, "My system won't, it can't carry it. It's like it can't give that. The system's blocked." And I understood that. I said, yeah, I totally understand. I said, "Are you okay with that though?" She says, "Yeah," right? Because she's accepted it. She doesn't define her true self with a state, because peace is a state. It's just the confusion is when we think it's an automatic state, a byproduct of self-realization. That's the confusion that I want to try to straighten out in this video. Because can you see how it can just cause trouble? It just causes more trouble. That's good in a way, because again, that's another challenge that we're here to transcend. So I'm trying to talk about it now to maybe you can transcend it faster. Waking up isn't pretty most of the time, all the time. It's just not a pretty thing. You know what it does? It loosens up all your neurosis that you've been hiding and numbing and escaping because of this external life. It loosens all that up, and then it starts to come out, and then you're like, what the hell is this? And you're screwed now, because that stage is over. You can't, before you could go sexualize it away, or go get high, or go get drunk, or go into some loud atmosphere and just kind of dopamine stimulate it away, but you can't do that now, because like that season's finished. You can't like go back. So now you're forced to like deal with it and sit with it. And then the mind can start second guessing your progress. And then, and then you watch videos and books, you read books, and then they're telling you the opposite. Oh, wow, Satchitananda, once you're awakened and the third eye opens and the bliss comes in and all that stuff, that gives you more brain damage. So you got to be a badass at this time and age to not get caught up in delusion, because it's just coming from everywhere, every side, every angle. It's like, it's just coming. The spiritual field's full of delusion. So, but God sends agents to help straighten that out for those who are ready, for those who have the capacity to really just let go of everything that you've ever been conditioned with to think that is true. I was doing another session, and the guy said he feels like all of his concepts that he used to stand on and live on, you know, they're like dissolved. It's like he's having a breakdown. I don't know. He might have to take some pills because he's tripping. He's like, you know, and I said, yeah, man, like that has to happen at some point. Sometimes it happens quicker and all at once than others, and that can be sometimes too much for the psyche to handle. Your whole world just like dismantles. That's what plant medicine can do too, if one's ready for it. Plant medicine knows, man. It knows who's ready and who's not. Two people can take the same dose, one have a total ego death, and the other one's like, I don't feel nothing. Plant medicine's very evolved entities trapped in a plant body. It wants to impart its consciousness to those who can handle it, basically. That was my experience when I did it. And then that season ended too. I just don't, like, we're done. We like had a nice goodbye, and that's it. Flow with the seasons. Don't try to stay in one season because it feels really good and you're like, oh, this is it, I found it. Yeah, for right now it feels that way. But when that changes, then it's time to go to the next level, go to the next level. All right, I hope you guys got something from that, and I'll see you soon.